Enjoying tonight, by the way.
I am. It's different.
Is it?
It is very different.
I'm taking it.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Mick. Yes, I'm still alive. Yes, I'm on the mend. It's been a couple of weeks now since I posted a video. As most of you know, I haven't been too well. I've been suffering with my health. I've had some results back. It turns out that, well, I believe I've got Crohn's. I've got a thickening of the bowel walls, all thickened right up, which is what they thought the tumour was, because I've got a growth there. It's called a neoplasticism or something, neoplastic or something it's called. But it's benign, so it's nothing to worry about. And I've also got hernia, which is probably why I'm in so much pain. So that's going to be getting addressed soon, hopefully, on the waiting list. Again, waiting. You know, this could have been dealt with last year when I first went in September, but it's getting dealt with now. It's been a bit of a funny couple of weeks. Did realise I had a bit of problem with the van. I had a bit of a bump in it when I was driving. So I checked the wheel out, the tyre, and it turns out we've been very, very fortunate that it hasn't blew up. For some reason the wrong size tyre was on the back. So I took it to One Stop Tyres, local place, Tyne. Brilliant guy, absolutely fantastic. You know, I do things in a budget, so I can't afford brand new tyres. I got a part one tyre for £40, and it brilliant. So I got another one. You know, made sure I've sorted with the tyres and that. But yeah, honestly, One Stop Tyres, man, what a dude, excellent. And then last night I recorded a radio session for a local radio station, which was pretty interesting. We had sitting in the studio and that, telling me story. So I'll let you have a listen to that, and I'll catch us in a bit.
It's Dance Nation featuring Alan Chan with Roller Coaster. Now, as I said at the beginning of the show, we've got Mick in the studio today, and we're going to be talking about drug addiction, how it is things spiral out of control, and how it is to get off them as well. A very warm welcome to you, Mick. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much for having us.
So, just to start everyone off about addiction, what is addiction? Put in your words.
Hell, if I'm honest, it's hard to put it into words really unless you've experienced addiction.
Right.
I mean, my addiction was a long addiction, so it lasted for years, 20 years really.
Right.
Plus.
So let's start at the very beginning.
Yeah.
How did you get addicted, and what were you addicted to?
At first, it started by I had an accident when I was 17.
Right.
And I nearly lost my hand. I was put on strong pain relief. From obviously my GP, and for years I was taking this painkillers, and they just kept getting upped because it wasn't doing the job. And that's how it started. Was with a tablet called K-Pake.
Right.
And then that got put up to codeine, and then into tramadol, and then to pre-gabs, gabapentin, and it got to the point I was taking my prescribed medication, but then I was getting it off the streets or anywhere else I could get it because that wasn't doing it for us anymore.
Right, so you're using it, you're kind of like using it up too fast.
Yeah.
So you ran out and you had to get it from elsewhere.
Yeah. And you know, like my daily dose at the time I was prescribed was, I shouldn't have been taking more than 8 codeine in a day, and I was taking over 28.
Wow.
Yeah.
In a day?
In a day.
How are you still alive?
I don't know. Because this wasn't just, like I say, this wasn't just a couple of year addiction or a year's addiction. This was me for 20 plus years, from the age of 17. You know, I was 23 year, really. I was addicted. And, like, you know, that was the gateway drug.
Yeah.
Which led to trying other things because they weren't doing. You know, you get such a euphoric feeling from opioids. You know, it's just the happiest you've ever felt. You know, and I think at the time, a lot of the reason I was taking the pain relief wasn't just because of the pain and the addiction. It was when you're in a bit of a bad place in life,
Yeah.
That's your escape.
Right.
You know, you can deal with
So
anything.
there's obviously underlying problems there as
Yeah.
well for
Oh,
that
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
So yeah, you started off on the opioids.
Yeah.
What happened after that? Where did you go from there? Because you did mention it was a gateway drug.
It was,
drug, didn't you?
yeah. I started with the opioids and then came, it was alcohol really. You know, I'd have a good drink, and then I was introduced to cocaine.
Okay.
Now, the feeling I got from cocaine was a little bit better than I was getting from the opioids,
Right.
but I was still taking the opioids and the cocaine and
Together.
the alcohol.
Wow.
Yeah, and it just spiraled to a point where I have ruined my body. My body's totally
Just
destroyed.
wrecked.
Yeah, and
And which way? What way has that
It's-
impacted you?
very puff. When you're taking all these tablets, you're getting your serotonin and your dopamine from these tablets, so your brain
Right.
doesn't produce them no more. There's no need for your brain to produce that chemical.
Right. Okay.
So my brain stopped producing them chemicals. My digestive system is just kaput. It's absolutely ruined, and that's because opioids affects your digestive system
Right.
really badly. And the cocaine, that actually put a hole in my nose.
All right. So you have actually got a
I
hole
have
in
actually
your nose.
got a hole in my nose.
Oh wow.
Yeah, look, I mean, I wasn't on it long. I was on the cocaine for about 2 years,
Right. Okay.
and it got to an everyday, you know, sitting in your bedrooms, having your lines of cocaine.
Yeah.
It's just not a good place to be in. And I think it was because of the amount of heavy use I done, it put a hole in my nose.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Talking about the underlying issues, has that now been addressed?
I'm still in a lot of pain,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just learning about ways of dealing with the pain.
Right. Okay.
You know, and obviously the lifestyle, when you're in a bad place in life, you're looking for an escape anywhere you can, just to put up with certain problems.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the place I was at the time, I obviously wasn't happy. I wasn't happy with my life, so I was just delving into these different addictions to get us through the day.
Right.
And it wasn't until I got to a happy point in my life, a happy place, when I started thinking I need to get, I don't need them anymore.
Uh-huh.
So it was then realising I'm addicted, because my body still craved for them and wanted them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm having to try and find ways of coping with not having them. You know, the rattles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Were crazy. So it was just a case of one thing at a time. I never thought I'd come off the opioids. I thought that was it for life.
Yeah.
I knew I had to come off the cocaine and the alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
When I look back, it was quite easy
Really?
compared to the opioids. Definitely,
Right. Okay.
Definitely. So, like I say, I never really expected to come off the opioids. You know, I had this sounds really bad. I know it does, but this is what addiction does to you. Now, I had a backup plan and stuff like that for robbing chemists.
Right. Because you needed it.
Yeah. If the world ever went down the pan, you know, if I ever went to a global collapse or anything like that,
Uh-huh.
my first thing wouldn't be to find stuff like some food and
Food,
things like
water,
that.
and
it
yeah,
would be straight to the chemist and where to get the.
to get what you need.
Yeah, because
Wow.
I was at a point I was on for a long time I was on Oromorph.
Right. I've heard of that.
It's morphine. It's a liquid
Yeah.
morphine. Now I used to drive to the chemist because I used to get me weekly prescriptions because the doctors knew I was addicted.
Yeah.
And I'd pick up my bottle of Oromorph, I'd open it and I'd drink it out the bottle,
What, the whole thing?
more or less.
Right,
I
okay.
wouldn't drink the whole. It was more like maybe half a bottle.
Right.
I'd drink half a bottle of Oromorph, and that would just get us in such a yes. I'm happy again.
Right. Okay.
You know, because when I was getting my prescription from the doctor, it was just a massive bag of opioids. You know, and it was when I first started, it was just like they handed it out to us.
Yeah. It was.
There was
You
no
didn't have to do
questions
anything
asked.
for it, or.
All I had to do was ring the doctor and go, you know, I'm in more pain, it's not working, you know, is there anything else you can give us? And they were like, oh yeah, we'll give you this on top. Yeah, I mean, I was on Oromorph, I'd get a bottle of Oromorph, tramadol and codeine,
Right.
and that was at the doctor's
Wow.
until
So did they not actually realise themselves
I don't know what happened.
that they weren't actually helping the situation
They were
by
making it
keep
worse.
on doubling it and trebling it up for you.
Yeah, it wasn't until I'd moved doctors, because I'd moved home, and I had to move my doctors because it was out the area.
Right.
And when I went to doctors, and you know, when you go to a new surgery, you get an introduction.
Little MOT.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And when I mentioned about the pain relief, they just looked and said, look, there's no way we can give you all this. There's no way, nobody should be taking this amount of pain relief.
Right.
Well, that's what I get. At that time, it was monthly. So, like I say, it was a big bag. And then when they says, there's no way you can take all this the human body's not even made to deal with it.
Yeah.
They put us down to the bottle of they put us down to the bottle of Aromorph and a box of codeine a week.
Right.
Now that's when I would go take me drink, and I would take that box of codeine was gone in a day.
Wow.
Which is
that
28
is crazy.
tablets. Yeah. And I didn't realise at the time, because that's all that mattered to me.
Yeah.
Was that, you know, and then it was the look at the weekly prescription thing, having to go every week, and I thought, I'm actually known as one of them.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm a junkie. That's what you wanted to say, wasn't it? I'm a junkie.
I was known as a junkie, and I was a junkie.
Yeah.
You know, and it's...
And was that, yeah, I mean, that realisation of, I need this.
Mm-hmm.
I am a junkie. I'm seen as a junkie.
When it first came about, it still didn't click enough.
Right, okay.
It was just a case of, I was telling myself, right, you need to start coming off, or, you know, you need to start bettering yourself. But it didn't happen at first. It was still a case of, oh, well, I'll not take as many, but then I'd look and think, oh, well, I might as well just take them for now, and I'll start next week.
Yeah. Keep putting it back, putting it off.
Yeah, and just making excuses up for me. So, oh, well, I need them because I'm in pain. I was in pain regardless if I took them or not.
Yeah, right. So that didn't actually matter, did it?
Nah.
Yeah.
It was just an excuse.
Yeah.
You know.
I suppose, I mean, I've stopped smoking. Yeah, I do vape, but it's like I'm dying for a tab. I'm stressed. I need to have a cigarette.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you have 1 cigarette or 100 cigarettes.
Yeah.
The stress that's causing the problems anyway is still going to be there after you've had that cigarette. And that's probably the same with the drugs as well.
Oh, yeah.
Your problems are still there once you've kind of sobered up a little bit. The only other problem you've got is what you just said, the shakes.
Yeah.
You need it again. Where you're going to get it from? So you've got a bigger headache than what you had before.
Yeah. And the thing with the coming off the opioids was the body's withdrawal. You know, I didn't really have much of a withdrawal from the cocaine and alcohol. It was more just just trying to distract myself or a break in habit.
Right.
You know, because when you're having a drink and you're having a couple of lines with it, when that stops, you think, well, what do I do?
Yeah.
You know, what am I, it's going to be boring. I'll just be doing what I was doing then.
Just
without the substances.
Yeah.
And I think it was the thing for me was that I'd actually met a lass who showed me, well, she did show me that I was worth something.
Right.
If that makes sense, I was worth, I'd like to say a saving, but it was the more self-love. I was worth loving. I was definitely, you know, and she how to love myself. Because
a massive key in everything, and
yes.
If you can't love or respect yourself, then how can you love or respect anybody else?
Well, that's it, yeah. And,
yeah.
You know, when you do love someone, you'll do anything for them.
Yeah.
You know, and if you can love yourself, you'll do anything for yourself. And it was saying that, you know, and wanting to love myself and thinking, yeah, I am worth loving.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a beautiful human being that's gone through quite a bad life, but my past doesn't define who I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm not there no more. I'm here, and I don't need that now.
Yeah, your past is the past, and you've got your future to look forward to.
And that was it. It was wanting a future.
Right. Yeah.
And wanting a future where I could be happy, and knowing that the past wasn't going to be the same. You know, and when you look at it with a sober mind, now I can deal with things. If there is a problem comes along, I can deal with it, where before it was just a case of, oh well, I'll just have this and the problem will go away.
Yeah.
You know, and it's having that, like I say, the whole part of loving yourself and wanting to be the best person you can be, not for anybody else but you.
Yeah.
And I think that was definitely the key moment. where I knew I had, like I say, I come off the cocaine and the alcohol first, and that led to us thinking, actually, could I come off the opioids? And because I'd bought myself a van and started converting it into a camper, because that's something I've always liked doing.
Yeah.
I kind of had what they call a spiritual awakening.
Right.
And that come about with the whole self-love thing. So I wanted to start doing things to better my life. And one of them was being out in nature. Now, and this gets overlooked so much because people are just nature, but if you can get out there and see the beauty in everything, really, and it's right there, and when you're in amongst it, you're part of it.
Right, I see what you mean, yeah.
And it was that gave us that little bit of, it kind of opened my eyes to life. And then, like, so much that we overlook, so much that we're missing out on because we're all in this little rat race.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. We're all at home watching TV, on your Xboxes, on your phone is probably the worst one.
Yeah.
I mean, I live next to the coast, and I can probably count on one hand how many times I went there to see it last year.
Yeah.
But it's right on my doorstep. But every time we drive past it, I always look at the sea because I appreciate it. Yeah, I never seem to just go there on a whim just because.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is.
We're going to come back to you and we're going to find out how you got off the drug abuse, how we got off that, and how you started your road to recovery after these few tracks. LF System, Martin Solveig, Sonny Fodra and Paul Wolford, but right now it's a brand new single from Joel Corey featuring Bill and Ted. East and beyond, and while I was playing, we have having a bit of a chat with Michael because we're in now for the second instalment regarding getting off drugs, opioids, and things like that. Now we've covered that, your opioid and cocaine addiction, how you got there. What we need to know now is what was the turning point in your life?
The turning point, I had what we call a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
And I'd got to know this lass, and look, she was the same kind of, I'd like to say hippie.
Right, so same sort of mentality.
Yeah, and it was getting to know her and speaking to her, and I knew when I come to meeting her properly face to face, I couldn't meet her as a cokehead.
Right, okay, yeah.
So that's when I cold turkeyed off the coke, I cold turkeyed off the drink, and I found every time I decided I'm going to come off the coke, somebody would always come in with a bag and wave it in front of my face. It was like the universe testing us.
Right, okay, yeah.
But I stuck to my guns and I came off that. Like I say, it wasn't that difficult, really. It was the opioids that I never expected to come off. Now I'd met Willow, and we just got on like a house on fire, everything just clicked into place, and like I say, she basically showed us that I am worth loving myself.
Yeah.
It was the impression I'd getting off her from the past that I'd been through. It wasn't really that, like I say, when you're in a bad space or you're in a bad place, you delve into these things.
Right.
As an escape from life. She showed us that, it's not escaping life that I needed to do, it was an experience of life that I needed. And it's finding the experience, it's finding what you want from life that gives you that joy. So
let's get this right. You came off that without any help from the NHS, from doctors, no special clinics. So you knocked that on your head.
Yeah.
And now we've got now is the opioid problem.
Yeah.
Haven't we?
I'd never ever expect to come off that, because there was times when I'd gone without them. Like if I'd run out of a supply.
Yeah.
I knew how my body reacted. The pain, the pain it caused inside. It feels like your blood's fizzing. Your bones are aching. Your stomach cramps are terrible. The sweats.
So when you say pain, it is actually pain.
Oh yeah, you do actually suffer pain. It's almost like your bones are crumbling inside.
Right.
You know, and it's a horrible experience. So I knew what to expect if I ever went without them. That's why I was always in a state of panic when I started running low.
Yeah.
And because we were like I say hippies. Willow, she's delved into spiritual medicines before in the past and stuff, you know. She's a spiritual healer and all this. I've always had a thing for DMT. I'd looked into DMT before. I knew what it was. I didn't know how to come about it. It's this country, you know. I didn't have the funds to go over to the Amazon and do the ayahuasca treaty there. So,
and just for our listeners who probably have never heard of DMT before, what is
dimethyltryptamine?
And what is it?
It's a natural. Our brain actually creates this. A very small amount of it when you sleep. There's a massive burst of it when you're a fetus in the womb, when we're given that bit of life. There's a massive burst of it then, and we'll get a massive burst of it when we die.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. So if anybody's ever seen the film Lucy.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's what that's based on is DMT. Now, it's found in a plant, but our body can absorb it when you take it alone in the plant. So it's mixed with another plant to allow our body to absorb it.
Right. Okay. I get you. Right. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
Or there's the form of it you can actually smoke.
Right.
Which is what I done. You know, we'll put it in like a bong.
Yeah.
And I had a DMT trip. Now, that just changed everything. And not just about me addictions, but my life in general.
So was that your spiritual awakening, which you said?
My spiritual awakening actually happened before that. My spiritual awakening happened around about COVID time. I'd felt poorly, I'd felt ill, I thought I was dying. And I woke up one day and I felt amazing. And I'd always chased this dream of a spiritual awakening because I'd heard of it before. I delved into it and I wanted a spiritual awakening. It's just wasn't happening. And when it happened, I knew what it was. So, because when people have a spiritual awakening, they kind of freak out a bit.
Right, okay.
They don't know what's going on. I didn't. I went outside, I was at the clouds. I looked at the clouds, I'd stare at the clouds for hours and be amazed. You know, that's water evaporating into something to make a shape. You know, it's not just a cloud. You know, things like grass growing, plants, insects, everything's got its purpose, and I was just so intrigued and so mystified by the beauty in it all. And when I had the DMT, which was later, like, you know, about a year later after my spiritual awakening, I've been a hippie for a year, I had my DMT journey, and that kind of answered all my questions but left us with more questions.
Right, okay.
At the same time, it made us realise that life is more than this, which is really hard to try and put in. It's hard to explain, but what I knew was I had to live this. Like, my life is, our lives are an experience.
Correct.
And
yeah.
When we leave here, we don't take nothing with us apart from our memories. That's the only thing we take is our memories.
I don't know if there is. I don't know. And the scientists have said that when you die, your soul goes back to the universe. That there's no hell or heaven or anything like that. Other people believe when you die, you die. Other people have died on the operating table, been revived, and said, "Hey, I went somewhere."
Yeah. But my thing is, when we die, in the actual moment when we're dying, the only thing we've got is our memories.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Say your life flashes before your eyes and stuff like that, but I witnessed my father pass about 6 months prior to my DMT trip and meeting Willow. My dad passed away, and I was there with him when he passed. And it was a weird thing I kind of seen in him. A bit of regret, maybe, of things he hadn't experienced, I'd like to say, you know, and how he lived his life. And
or maybe regret of things that you could have done better in life.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, so it was. That's what I realised when we pass, we don't take nothing with us but the memories.
Yeah.
We work all our life for the material things.
Yep, the money.
That goes nowhere.
Yeah.
With you.
It stays in your bank account, and if you haven't got anyone to leave it with, who gets it? The government.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're right.
That was my thing. Was I've got to make my memories the best ones I can for me, not for anybody else. No good me trying to serve everybody else and make their memories happier.
Absolutely, I agree.
Mine worse.
Yeah.
Which I'd spent most of my life doing, people pleasing.
Yeah.
You know, pleasing everybody else other than me.
Yeah.
Work myself into a grave trying to make somebody happy.
Yeah.
And that was a turning point of realising I've got to make my memories good ones. You know, and this DMT trip just, it kind of picked us up and shook us.
Mm-hmm.
And when I took my DMT trip and you go in with questions, my one main thing I want to know is why am I here? What is my purpose? What's the purpose of life? And I was told, just be. And that kind of stuck with us when I came out, and I just got it. I was like, you know what it is? I'm going to stop the opioids. And although I was told later on I shouldn't have done it the way I done it, but I did. I went cold turkey. I thought, I'm going to fight whatever I have to fight. I knew what to expect. I just didn't know how long it was going to last, how long the withdrawal symptoms were going to last. So I never got past a day when I tried a previous, if I'd run out of anything. I'd always managed to get it somehow, you know, begging, steal and borrow. So I knew what to expect a little bit. But I thought I had to do that. I had to come off them because I needed to better myself. For me, not for anybody else, not to make anybody else happier or pleasant. It was for me and my health, my life, and for the way I want to live. You know, I'm like I say, I'm a bit of a hippie. I like to be outdoors, and that was the thing, was just to be able to experience that in a better state and not worry where am I going to get my next fix from.
Right, we're going to talk about getting off the opioids right after this track. It's Sam Smith and Calvin Harvis. I'm not here to make friends. Joe and Callum Scott with Whistle. We have still got Mick in the studio, and we're talking about opioid, cocaine addiction. We're talking about all sorts. We're talking about how hard it is to come off them, what you have to endure to come off them, how it makes you feel. We were up to a certain point before when this last song started playing.
With the DMT.
The DMT, that's right. Yes. Now somebody's on the ball tonight, aren't they?
Yeah.
DMT, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what happened? I've been one for nature, like I was saying. You know, I loved being out in nature and seeing things. Now, when I had my DMT trip, I wanted to experience nature sober. And you know, I'd get myself a van. I've always been one for travelling. It must be in the blood because my dad had his camper vans and stuff like that.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, my dad.
So is that maybe where you got it from, sort of thing?
Yeah, I used to love going on drives with my dad.
Right.
And my dad was a bus driver when I was a baby. I used to get on the bus and go for rides down on the bus with him. So I've always been one for travelling, and I'd get myself a cheap van and convert it in camper, just using bits of scrap and stuff like that, just to get out and travel.
Right, okay.
At that point, I was still on the opioids, you know, I'd still be rushing back home to get my prescription, you know, so I couldn't really enjoy nature how I should be enjoying it, you know, and that's what I was shown. So that was it. I'd come off the opioids. I'd use the van bills as a distraction, you know, I had to have something to do.
Something to do.
Yeah, and because I had this love for nature and this love for getting out and travelling, that was a massive help. You know, and just being able to travel about. I think being able to go and lock myself away in the van while I was on my come down and stuff like that, because that lasted a long time. I was away, so it wasn't like I could just turn around and go around the corner and
score.
Yeah. You know,
you were in the middle of nowhere, so you had nothing.
So I had no choice really.
Okay.
To sit amongst the nature. Now, like I say, nature's overlooked loads. You know, even sitting with my bare feet in the grass for half an hour, the benefits that gives the body is crazy. You know, because your body's like it's like a battery, right? You get all these positive.
Well, yeah, it's full of electrical impulses, isn't it?
Yeah, you get your positive energy particles you get from the sun, and if you're not getting rid of your negative energy particles, they'll just build up and cause problems. And when you're barefoot in the ground, it releases all your negative energy through your feet.
Right, okay.
You know, and so I'd sit out in the middle of nowhere with my feet in the grass and do what I could to not take these tablets because it was constantly there. You know, it's if I just go and get some and I'll take 2, or you know, I'll go and get some off the streets like I used to. I'll just if I get a box, I'll just make sure I only take the 2 of them, and just to get us over.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that because
I
knew where that leads to.
Yeah, we both know.
Yeah,
where that if you took 2, you're going to take 4. You're going to take the lot, aren't you? Yeah.
And that was it. I knew it had to. I couldn't do that, and that was the whole point of going away. And like I said, Willow, she was a healer, spiritual healer. She's a Reiki master and stuff. So you know, she used a lot of Reiki on us.
Right. And what does that entail?
Reiki,
I don't know what there is.
Reiki's it's really hard to describe Reiki actually. Reiki's it's an energy sort of healing where you lie in a meditative state.
Right.
And Willow would use her energy to provide my body or to take any negative from my body.
Right.
You know.
Okay.
It's a lot of, it is come down to a lot of meditation as well, which I used to do a lot of meditation.
Right.
Because that's a massive thing, meditating. Now, Reiki's a bit like that, you know, I go into a meditative state, Willow hands over, or hands touching, just to draw or create an energy. And, you know, we use a lot of that. I was smoking cannabis, which that kind of increased a little bit just to take the edge off things. And
yeah.
You know, I had this mindset, well, cannabis is a herbal thing. Cannabis is from the earth.
It's a plant. It's all right. What's the harm?
So,
is cannabis addictive? There's lots of pros and cons. People say it is. Some people say it isn't. The NHS say it leads to crazy episodes in the mind.
No, I don't believe that for a second.
And there's something else that they say. What? I've totally lost the word.
Cannabis. They say cannabis is a gateway drug.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
See,
opioids and painkillers, that's a gateway drug.
Right. I'm gonna tell you something now. But I used to live in the Netherlands, as you very well know, and there is not one person on the street. Right. So there's a lot of cocaine flying around, tons of it. There's everything else flying around because Holland is the drugs capital of the world.
Yeah.
There's not one. I'll say junkie.
Yeah.
Right. There's not one junkie on the street that didn't start with a joint, with marijuana.
Yeah.
Not one of them. That's where the old story. Yeah, I do believe that cannabis is a gateway drug onto other things. You've tried that. Mm-hmm. So what else? What else is there?
Well, I suppose it's all a mindset really on what you're after. You know, where cannabis, you know, you sort of think to have half a joint and that's enough for you, and then it doesn't do it no more, so you smoke a full joint. And that doesn't do it no more for you, so you have more. But it's the same as anything else. It's like alcohol. If you drink 4 cans and you get drunk, it'll lead to eventually, if you drink 4 cans constantly,
8 cans, 12 cans, 15 cans, yeah.
So I use cannabis medicinally. I say medicinally. It got to a point it wasn't really medicinally. It was just because I wanted it.
Right. Okay.
You know, and so I use cannabis quite a lot with that excuse. You know, well, it's helping us with this, it's helping us with that.
Yeah.
But no, I got to a point I seen cannabis. I was never against cannabis. I don't think it was a bad thing. Cannabis wasn't the addictive part. It was the nicotine that was getting put in to make the joint.
Right,
mix
okay.
it with a tab.
Right, because you don't even smoke anymore.
No, I don't even take sugar.
You don't. Yeah, I mean that's. You've gone from one extreme right to the very other, haven't you?
Yeah,
no nicotine, not even.
Nah.
And you're a vegan as well. You don't eat meat.
Yeah, that's right. And like I say, it's the whole loving yourself.
Yeah.
You know, when you see what damages the body, you don't want to damage your body. You want to provide the best. You know, if you go out and buy an expensive car.
Yeah.
Right, you do everything possible to look after that car. You know, you want to keep it clean. You want to put the good stuff in it.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't.
You want the service done when it's supposed to be done. You want the oil change, the air filter done when it's supposed to be. You don't want anything to happen.
That's right.
And you're driving down the road one day, and a stone chip flies up and knocks your paintwork, and you're absolutely devastated, aren't you? So I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
You know, if you love yourself enough to want to be the best you can and feel the best you can, you know, and it was. Once, obviously, all the withdrawals had stopped, and you know, because I was really bad, I actually thought my body was going to pack in.
Right. Okay.
Now, this is the dangers of going cold turkey.
Yes.
Because I went cold turkey.
Normally, people go and seek help.
Yeah.
NHS clinics, I mean, there's loads of stuff online as well, which we'll
Yeah.
touch on a little bit later on.
Yeah.
But cold turkey, tell us about that.
Now, because I went cold turkey with the cocaine and the alcohol,
Right.
I thought I could do it with the opioids and the painkillers.
Right. Oh, well, yeah, you would,
But
wouldn't you?
see the difference, I'd been on coke, like I say, about 2 years. Opioids I'd been on since I was 17, so I'd been on them. My body'd been dependent on them a very, very long time.
Wow. How long did you say you were on opioids for? Was it 20?
23 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and so because I went cold turkey, my body didn't know how to function without them.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So like I says, when I'm taking these painkillers, I was getting all these euphoric feelings, the dopamine, the serotonin, testosterone. So when I stopped taking them, my body wasn't producing none of them.
Right.
No
Okay.
testosterone, no serotonin, no dopamine, and my body it kind of nearly went into shutdown.
Shock.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do see that, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I fought through it. I think what helped me a lot was, I get laughed at about this a lot, I went breatharian for a while, where I went fasting.
All right. Okay.
So
That's what you were saying before, wasn't it? Yeah.
And I went breatharian for about 7 months, no food and water, and I remember going to the doctors and she just looked at us and went, well, you should be dead.
Well, yeah. I thought you
saying.
couldn't live without water for no more than about a week or two, and food probably about 2 months or a month, 8 weeks. I'm sure it was 8 weeks for food and about a couple of weeks for water.
If you're doing it right, see now this is what the gurus do and the yogis do in India. A lot of meditation, like I like to meditate. So a lot of meditation, imagining your body absorbing the energy particles from around them, because there's a lot of prana, what they call prana, and the ether, all this stuff, and our bodies can absorb that. And I'm only saying this because I've been through it myself. I used to have arthritis in my knee and a lot of physical problems. They all went once I started shutting my digestive system down, because your body uses 75% of its energy in your digestive system. That's your main brain. Now once I stopped using any energy there and my digestive shut down, that energy then went into healing my body.
Right. Okay.
And I think it was that gave us that upper hand on coming, on being cold turkey, because I am fit now, and I was fit, but because I was so reluctant on taking any more substances, and I delved more into the meditation still, I think my body had, like I say, well, it started shutting down, but because I was fit enough, I just fought through it. And I got to a point, I think I'd went a week, and I was still rattling, I still sleepless nights, night sweats and stuff like that, but I got to that point and I've come this far, I can't give in, and it was, that's how I took it from day to day, that, tomorrow was going to be easier, tomorrow will be easier. It never was at first.
Right, okay. As soon as you woke up in the morning, oh God, here we go again.
That's even if I went to sleep to wake up.
Right, okay.
The days at first didn't get easier, they got harder. But I knew that there would be a day when I'd woke up and think, actually the day's not so bad. Mm-hmm. And it did. I got to a point and I even stopped thinking about it. And being out in the van, I could experience what it was properly without having to worry about, oh well, I need to get drunk to get this, or I need to
yeah.
It got to a point where I was actually able to enjoy things for what they were and experience it sober.
Right.
And to the point, I mean, I am suffering still a little bit with my body. Mm-hmm. I have just been diagnosed with Crohn's.
Right, okay.
Which I have had all my life, but because I was on all these opioids, it kept that at bay.
Right, so you've had this all. I see. I didn't know that. Yeah. I didn't know you. Right, mm-hmm. I did not know that at all. Yeah. I thought it was just like a new thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. But no, apparently, Crohn's, I've had that all my life.
Wow.
But because I was on opioids for most of my life,
you didn't see it.
Yeah, because opioids constipate you.
Right. Okay.
If anyone who takes codeine, they'll know this, and Oromorph's really bad for it.
Yeah.
That constipates you. So I never knew anything about it.
Right.
Until I come off, and all the problems started.
Yeah, because you thought you had cancer, didn't you?
Yeah. And what that
Bit of a scare.
was, it's called neoplastic.
Right, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a thickening of the bowel wall. Now, because my bowel wall had thickened up so much, they thought it was a tumour.
Right, okay.
You know, I was rushing to hospital, more or less for the camera up, and just to have some biopsies done, and that's when it had all come about. It's you know, it's a thickening of the colon wall.
Right, okay.
And that's due to the Crohn's.
Wow.
Yeah, and they've now also just found hernia, which, but it's you know, when I first come off, like I say, my body was going through all these problems when I come off the opioids, which I was expecting.
Right, okay.
So I just pushed things aside at the time. So when I was having all these stomach pains, I was like, it's because I've come off the opioids, you know, and I'm having all these problems. I was like, it's because I've come off the opioids. And it got to a certain point when I thought, right, I shouldn't be getting these now. It should have really subsided because everything else has.
Yeah.
And that's when I went to the doctors. And that's when
you thought, well, something's wrong here now, isn't it?
Yeah. And the doctors, oh, well, it's just constipation, there's some laxatives. And that kind of it was a year ago. It took 12 months.
No.
Yeah, it took 12 months from me going to the doctors and saying, yeah, I'm suffering with these problems.
So to be fair, it's a good job it wasn't cancer, isn't it?
Oh yeah, because I would have been...
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, dear me.
I know. And that's the point is, you know, like when I say to the doctor, I'm still getting these problems, blah, blah, blah. Because I've been on opioids all this time, that's what they put. They looked at it as I was a junkie. Yeah. You know, and
it's not a good place to be though, isn't it? Because you're trying to help yourself.
Yeah.
But you're not really getting help from the professionals who should be there to help you.
Yeah, I think that's
who should be saying, this is what we need to do.
Yeah, definitely, and I mean, my faith in I shouldn't really, but my faith in the GP has diminished because of this. Yeah, you know, and they looked at me like, oh, well, you just have to have a fix.
Right, you have to have more painkillers now, aren't you? Yeah.
Which I can understand that because there was times when I was going to the doctors and that was the case.
Yeah.
You know, but they would just give us them.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think now there's a bit of a thing going on about opioids.
There is at the minute, because they're just getting diagnosed left, right and centre. Well, they were, until this all came up. You're right in what you're saying. Yeah. People were just giving them willy-nilly.
Oh, yeah.
And but they are addictive, as we find out. We're going to play a couple of tracks, and we're going to get back to how long it took you from A to Z to actually get off the drugs. Mm-hmm. Before that, it is Tiesto and Diplo and Miguel, don't forget my love. We still got Mick in the studio, and are you enjoying tonight? By the way,
I am. It's different.
Is it?
It is very different.
I'm taking it you've never actually done this before.
No, I haven't. No.
Right. Okay. So we are up to. How clean have you been so far?
I clean off everything for a year and a half now. Apart from cannabis, which I gave in about 12-13 weeks ago.
Right, okay.
But everything else other than that, it's been a year and a half.
But you're off the cannabis now as well, yeah?
Yep, I'm off the cannabis.
And how long have you been off the cannabis?
It's about 13 weeks.
13 weeks. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. So, I mean, it's crazy, really. You've come off the cocaine.
Yep.
Come off the opioids.
Yep.
Come off the cannabis.
Yep.
Gave up cigarettes.
Yep.
Gave up sugar.
Yep.
Gave up meat.
Yep.
And what about fish?
I do like a little bit of fish now and then.
Right,
know,
okay.
Especially travelling the country, you've got to try fish and chips from different coastal areas, you know.
Which brings us to our next subject, the van build.
Yes.
Because you've got a camper outside the studio right now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second, because you said earlier on that it was a distraction from the cold turkey sort of thing.
Yeah, because I think when you come off any, like when I was on a substance, say alcohol, you know, when you're having a drink on a night time, when you give that up, you think, well, what am I going to do? You know, it's just breaking the habit.
I must admit, I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
Especially on the weekends when I'm up here in the studio doing stuff.
So you think, well, what am I going to do? You do the exact same thing, just without having to reach over and have a drink every now and then. You know, it's like when you stop smoking, your fingers miss it. You know, and you miss that. The whole cannabis can take an hour out of your day just to roll a joint and smoke a joint and sit there and enjoy kind of thing. You know?
There's a big difference between habit and addiction.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, smoking, we just touched on
Which,
smoking,
yeah.
is a habit. If it was down to addiction only, I reckon you'd only be smoking about 6, 7 cigarettes a day. 6, 7, 8 maybe cigarettes a day.
So when you're breaking your addiction, you've also got to break a habit. Now, the whole point of the van was to beat both, you know, so I was distracted from anything I was going through cold turkey wise, you know, me symptoms and stuff like that. And it was also, it kept my mind busy, it kept my hands busy, and it gave me something to look forward to as well, you know, like to look forward to the future and know that I had this, and it was my sort of safe space.
Right, okay.
You know, so I could just take myself away, get in the van, get cracking, doing what I could do, you know, anything. Most of my time was taken up looking for recycled parts, stuff that I could use, because I didn't have much money to put into the van.
Right, okay.
So anything that was used, like the kitchen unit I built out of an old TV unit.
All right.
Strip the TV unit down, used the wood and built a frame.
But you're quite a handy guy anyway, as it is, so you can like make something out of anything really.
I like it, right, I think it's because I tell myself I can. I look at something and think, it's like the whole van build, I've never done anything like that before. And I thought, I can do it. You know, if you tell yourself you can't do something, you've set yourself up for failure straight away.
Well, I'm going to touch on this because I did see it, and we'll mention this at the end of the show, but I've seen that something did actually go really wrong, didn't it? When you put in the wood burner, you nearly killed yourselves.
Yeah, that was the diesel heater.
Oh, it was the diesel heater, right? So what were? Because I didn't know what exactly went wrong there.
Yeah, well, because like I said, I've never done anything like this before. I just jumped in with both feet, and because I think part of it was down to the fact that I wasn't thinking straight at the time as well. Because you know, I'd just come off all this stuff, and I was in a hurry to get it done and get away or whatever. But when I put the diesel heater in, it's got an exhaust. Now, the exhaust goes under the van, it comes out the bottom. Yeah. It gets extremely hot. Now, it didn't go, when I put the diesel heater in, I didn't run it straight through the bottom, it went along the floor a little bit. Right. And it burnt all the wood as it was heating up. Ah, right, okay. The cable ties is actually getting underneath it and melted. Right. And well, she kept feeling sleepy all the time, and she was like, I was being poisoned. I didn't know. And it wasn't until I looked and realised and seen that you were. I were poisoning her. But yeah, the diesel heater has moved now, it's in a safe place. So you bought an actual bog standard van. Yeah. To take your mind off things. How long did it take you from A to Z fixing that van up, and what is the kind of things that you did with it? Because it was just a full panel van, I should imagine. What have you done with it? It didn't actually take as long to get it, because I was so set on doing it, and I was so set and distracting myself. I think I'd done the van within a couple of weeks. Really? Really. I mean, in a couple of weeks it was functional. Right, okay. So I'd made a bed in the back. The bed, it did lift up into a couch, and I put the kitchen unit in and the solar panel on. You know, maybe it took us about 4 weeks to have it functional. Right, okay. And then as I started getting away and travelling in it, I started changing things that I wanted to work and benefit for me. Like, but everything in there is either recycled or upcycled, isn't it? Yeah. Which is crazy, really. I mean, where did you find these kind of things? Right, driving about and seeing bits of wood that people had chucked out. In a skip or whatever, and just say, I love that. Yeah. I can do something with that. Skip diving and that, you know, and dig out diving and stuff like that. There is something, I mean, I did have to buy certain things like the diesel heater, the solar panel and stuff like that. But you know, it only costs us like $2,500 for the whole, that's including buying the van. Any stuff that's in it. I mean, I used an old sofa, somebody was chucking the sofa bed out. So I used the sofa bed as the actual bed. Right, okay. Now I can lift it into a couch and push it back a bit. You know, it is cheaply done, but it is functional and it is very homely. Yeah. You know. And you did say, I mean, you've got a house, haven't you? Yes. And you said about, because you touched on it before, safe space. It is. Yeah. And you actually spend some nights in the van rather than in your own bed in the house, and it's probably parked outside your house at the time as well. Yeah, I do that all the time. Where if for any reason I haven't been able to travel, you know, if there's been something wrong with the van, funds, you know, because it does cost quite a lot in diesel now, especially with the price of everything. Yeah. You know, so it is parked up. If it's parked up outside the house, chances are I'm in the van.
give us a quick list on where you've visited, because you've only been in the UK, haven't you?
I haven't got a passport, unfortunately.
Oh, have you not?
Nah, that's my next
you should
thing.
get a passport and get yourself out there.
I want
Spain,
to try
France.
France. Yeah, because once I'm through there, I can go anywhere.
Yeah, so a quick rundown.
I think there isn't a place I haven't been in the UK.
Really?
Yeah, we did start when I first started travelling. You know, because I love Kielder Forest. You know, and we'll go to Kielder, then just across the Scottish border. And I would like to do the NE 500, which is
what? I've never heard of that.
That's the coast. It's the coastal route of Scotland.
Right. Okay.
It's 500 mile long. It's like the Highway 66 of England, Scotland. You know,
right,
you drive all the way around the coast. It's 500 mile. Because I haven't been right up to the Highlands of Scotland yet.
Right.
But you know, I've been places like Stonehenge, Glastonbury, Cheddar Gorge, Wales. Wales is a beautiful place.
It is. I've been to Wales.
Yeah, it's beautiful around Wales. You know, we've been York, all the local places around here. Yeah. But I have ventured up Scotland, but not as far as I would like. I would like to reach the very top.
Very top.
Yeah.
What's your ultimate goal on travelling? I mean, can you imagine getting your passport, then doing Route 66 in the US? Can you imagine doing that?
Yeah, I could absolutely love to do that. I would like to go through, like I said, I'd like to drive through France and drive through Spain, Portugal, you know, do all them countries in Europe and stuff, but I would definitely like to try South America.
Right, and is that your like ultimate sort of goal, is it?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Definitely, and you know, just to meet some of the people around there as well.
Yeah.
You know, because I know South America, there's a lot of spirituality goes along there and stuff that's hidden from us that we don't see. You know, especially like to India. I'd love to travel to India.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I don't think that would be a van trip. That would have to be a...
Oh, yeah, you couldn't... No, I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
But I would... definitely travel to South America.
Got some more questions to ask. And they are coming up in just a short while. But for the minute, though, we've got Ava Max, Mabel, Jax Jones, and Galantis. And we're kicking off with this one. It's Sagala and Talia Moore. Mick is still in the studio. And we're coming to the last 20 minutes of the show. But we've still got a few more questions to ask. Now, we've spoken about the addiction, we've spoken about opioids, getting off it, we've spoken about what you've done to get off them. You also have a YouTube channel, I believe, as well.
I do, yes. The reason for this was because coming off the opioids, I mean, that's the main one, the coke and the drink, I didn't really see that as a massive, because it was so easy to come off compared to the opioids.
Yeah.
And I know it's such a... There's so many people addicted to them, you know, and the whole point of my YouTube channel was to just try and help someone, you know, and document my journey along the way. And I've never done that same thing. I've never done anything like that before either, you know. I've only used my phone.
Yeah, because you do videos and things like that, don't you? Yeah.
So I'd go out into nature, and when I was on about before, like taking things for granted, like the shape of clouds, you know, the grass growing, flowers, insects. So when I was out in nature, I'd be capturing all these little bits on video, and I started putting them together and making little videos, and I thought, you know, I'll put them out there and see, you know, just to try and help somebody else, or even if people just found it interesting, you know, especially the van life journey and stuff like that. And at first, I hated the sound of my own voice. I hated anything about this, you know. It took some getting used to, because I've never, like I said, never done it before. So I got it. It was once I started getting people commenting, you know, and the regulars commenting and subscribers and stuff, and I kind of realised I'm actually not just talking to my phone, because that's what I'm doing really. I'm just talking
at
to
that
my
moment
phone.
In time, until it's uploaded to the internet.
When you watch these videos, you kind of don't realise there's some weird guy who looks like Jesus just walking around talking into his phone, you know. And so that took some getting used to. And once I was used to it and realised I'm not talking to my phone, I'm actually talking to people out there. Yeah. You know, and knowing that I've actually helped people out there as well. You know?
I mean, that's my next question. I mean, you've said people have contacted you on YouTube. How many people do you think you've helped so far on YouTube? Because you said it's not just about the addiction and getting off the addiction, get off the opioids and the drugs. Yeah. It's also about, even if you're just interested in building a camper van.
I know I've had quite a few people reach out and contact us and tell us I've helped them beat their addiction. Not help them beat their addiction, but realise they've got an addiction. You know, I've helped them come off it, and I've had other people reach out and you know, they've they know family members who've got this addiction, and it's opened their eyes a bit about what they're going through, how to help them. And I've even had people come up to us and tell us they've actually went out, like people I used to work with years ago, bus drivers and stuff, have messaged and says, you know, I've watched your videos and I found this so interesting. I've actually went out and bought a van and I'm currently converting it and this and that, you know. And it was, I went down to Glastonbury. We were talking about like being out away and that, and I went down to Glastonbury and there was a woman in a shop. She went, hey, you're the guys who do YouTube, aren't you?
No way.
And I was just totally blown away by it. I was like, oh my god, wow, it actually, you know, reaching out and people seeing the videos, it's a fact I find them interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
I mean, at the minute, I don't make no money for it. I'm not getting paid, but my main objective is just to help people.
Right,
you know, and just to get them to either reach out so I can help them personally, or even if they just reach out, it gives them incentive to go and do stuff and live life, really. It's not just, like you say, it's not just about beating addiction or having an addiction, it's about living your life, being the best person you can be, and making memories, you know?
But you were saying before as well, while we were off air, there's actually people came up to you where you live.
Yeah, there has.
And said, you know, I haven't had drugs for so many weeks, and because of watching the videos, you've had people come to you saying,
shook my hand and give us a cuddle, you know, and they've been like, oh, I'm just watching your videos and I've never touched coke for 2-3 weeks now, and that's because I watched you do it. And I think a lot of people read it because a lot of people I knew who knew me and how badly I was on this stuff, you know, because I mean I was known as a junkie, I suppose. Yeah. You know, and they've actually said, oh my god, if Mick can do it, I can do it. Yeah. That was that kind of thing, you know what I mean? So if I can do it, I mean anybody can do it, really.
Because there is that stigma attached to it still, isn't it? Yeah. The junkie.
Yeah. So
we've all been guilty of saying it. Oh, the junkie, the junkie.
It's the first thing that comes to people's mind, and that's how it's a sticker that was on my back. That's quite hard to get off. Yeah. You know, and it's not until you start looking a bit healthier in yourself, and you know, people start seeing the difference. Yeah. You start losing that nickname. You know, you start losing that name, the junkie. I mean, I suppose I'll always be known as an ex-addict. I'm always going to be that. Yeah, but would you rather be known as an ex-addict or a junkie? Most definitely rather be known as an ex-addict. Absolutely. And you know what? As time goes on, even that ex-addict thing, that label, that'll wear off. Of course it will. Absolutely. Yeah. And I hope, you know, one day, like the YouTube channel is the road to recovery. I'm hoping one day that'll not be the road to recovery anymore. You know. It'll just be. It'll just be. Yeah, just be. Just because that's what it was originally. Yeah, talking about that, your YouTube channel, let's let our listeners know where they can find you on YouTube. If you type in Road to Recovery Van Life. Right, okay. Look, there'll be a sticker, you know, the van sticks out like a sore thumb because it's got black trees painted on it. Yeah, I had it when I bought the van out with a bit of rust on it. That kind of sort of did me head in on the sills. You just painted a tree on there. It was cheaper, it was cheaper than getting it. I couldn't afford a paint job, so I sanded all the rust down. I bought some Run Seal roof paint and done a bit of Bob Ross style painting on it, you know. Yeah, well, why not? On, yeah, but that's the way, and it sticks out like a sore thumb, you know, which is better as well because people then know that's Mick. Yeah. You know, I'm approachable, they can come and speak to us, and I get that quite a lot when I'm driving about and going places, because like I say, the van sticks out like a sore thumb, so people do tend to come up and talk to us about it, and I do get a lot of like, you know, pats on the back from people and stuff like that, because. But doesn't that just make it all the worthwhile? It really does. Look what I've done. I've done something good. I've probably never had a pat on the back in my life. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, here it is. Commemorated everywhere I go. And when you're going through the journey and you're going, you know, you're coming off all this stuff, you forget where you were and who you were, and forget the struggle you've gone through, you know, because you don't want to remember the hard time. Yeah. So I kind of take it for granted. I don't take it for granted, I just push it to one side. You know, until somebody will come along and say, oh my god, I'm so proud of you, you've gone through all this and you've done all that, and I'll stop and think, wow, I actually have. I've fought off some real demons, you know. I'm like a demon slayer, if you like. Yeah. You know, I mean, like even just the coming off the sugar and the fizzy pops and stuff like that. Yeah, because even that is addictive, isn't it? It is, yeah, it's really addictive. I know lots of people who are addicted to sugar, Coca-Cola and... Yeah. Yeah. And if people want to get in touch with you,
I know you've said your YouTube channel, but if they want to send you a private message or a direct
they-
message, where can they find you?
They can, well, I suppose they could always contact the show, contact the Mac.
Yeah.
You've got my details.
Do you know what? Yeah, if you are
Yeah.
suffering from a drug addiction and you want to get off it, I will pass your details on to Mick. And the email address for that is studio2@ne3radio.co.uk. I think we've just about covered everything tonight, haven't we?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I'm going to say a massive thank you for coming to the show.
I
I
would like
know
to thank you
it's
for
probably
having us.
been hard as well.
It's not really, no.
No?
I mean, because, like I say, I do a little bit of YouTube videos. I've got a little bit of an idea,
Yeah.
you know. So I'm not scared to speak into a microphone now. I'm not as nervous around microphones, I suppose. But I've enjoyed it. Actually, I've really enjoyed it.
Right, so we've got like 12 minutes left.
Yeah.
If you could give any advice to anyone, this is your final question of the day, right?
Right.
Any advice to anyone, what would it be? What would your
the
famous slogan be?
Would be love yourself and stop caring what people think.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
We've got about 12 minutes left.
So yeah, that was different. Well, obviously, I'm used to talking to you. I'm used to talking to the camera and stuff, but talking in a microphone in a studio is totally different. So I think now we're just going to see what happens health-wise. Now that the band's hasn't got a peg leg, you know, I'm slowly starting to feel like getting some medication off the doctors last week. You know, so I've been taking them for a week steady. I'm starting to feel a little bit better. Suppose we've just got to see what happens now, don't we, really? But thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you guys soon. Take care.